In this lesson today, we're going to learn how to properly do a vendor credit. Now, of course, if you could take a shortcut and you could go here and you got a credit back from a vendor, you returned an item, or there was damage to an item, or the service wasn't 100% complete and they did a refund. And you could always put it in through deposits and then go back to the account, the expense account, and receive from, let's say if you received it, if you bought something at Staples and you returned it and it was somewhat inconsequential, it might be easier to just put it back to office supplies here and then put the amount here, you know, $25, whatever. But sometimes you have a vendor where you're trying to keep track of all the transactions. You know, usually they're one of your primary vendors, and if you have a return, you know, you want to see it in the vendor window, which is this home center, the vendor center. So say we went to this Alpha Graphics company and we do a lot of work with them, and they sent us a check. What would we do? Because I want to be sure to see it in this window. What I would do is I would record a deposit, and I would say received from Alpha Graphics, and I would put it back to our office expense account, and I would say refund for you know, bad printout. And you know, typically we would put the check number and then say the amount is just $95. And so actually, instead of putting it to office expense, we actually should put it to accounts payable. And in this way, we can use our credit memo, create a vendor credit, and make sure everything shows up properly. So over here, we would hit save and close. We would hit enter bills, and then here is where I would put Alpha Graphics, $95, and I would put it back to office expense, and I would make sure to check credit here. So then we would hit save and close, and then if we go to pay bills, you would see Alpha Graphics shows up here. We check that off. We have a credit over here for $95. We hit done to make sure that we have no open documents in our system, and you know, that are unnecessary. And as we hit pay, and then QuickBooks tells you that it's not going to generate a check because it's for zero, and then you just hit done. And then if we go back to the vendor window, we look at Alpha Graphics, we see that not only did we get the money in our bank account, but we can see the credit in our transactions window. Unlike if you took the shortcut and you just went through the deposit window and we went right back to office expense in there, which isn't entirely terrible, but you know, but it's just for those primary vendors where it's important to see what's going on. You'd like to have more of a transaction history. This is the way to go.